God says, listen closely, my beloved soul, because what you are hearing right now is not random and not accidental. There is a reason your heart slowed down for a second, a reason your spirit leaned in, a reason these words found you at this exact moment. Heaven is gentle, not loud, and when God wants you to understand something important, He speaks in a way that reaches your heart before it reaches your mind. Today is one of those moments. There is a connection forming around you that does not fit the rules people talk about, the timeline society agrees on, or the expectations others place on love. You may have noticed it quietly, or you may have tried to ignore it completely, telling yourself it does not make sense, that the difference is too big, that others would not understand, that it would be easier to walk away. But God sees what humans only measure on the surface. God looks at hearts, at alignment, at purpose, and at timing far beyond numbers. This person did not fall for you by accident. They did not wake up one day and suddenly feel something for no reason. Long before either of you understood what was happening, heaven was already watching how your paths were moving closer, how conversations felt deeper than expected, how silence between you never felt empty. Age was never the language of this connection. Recognition was. Familiarity was. Peace was. God wants you to understand something very clearly now. Love that is guided by purpose does not always arrive in familiar packaging. Sometimes it comes wrapped in questions. Sometimes it arrives through hesitation. Sometimes it challenges the ideas you thought were fixed forever. But what comes from God will never demand fear as its foundation. It will invite reflection, honesty, and courage, not confusion or shame. This person has seen parts of you that others overlooked. Not just your smile, not just your words, but your depth, your resilience, your softness, and your strength living side by side. They were drawn not to your age, but to your essence. And you felt it too, even if you tried to explain it away. Souls recognize each other before minds catch up. God says, do not rush to label this connection, and do not rush to reject it either. Sit with it. Pray with it. Let truth rise without pressure. Not every divine connection is meant to follow the same path, but every divine connection is meant to teach you something about yourself, about love, and about how God works beyond human logic. You may be worrying about what people would say, how it would look, or whether it could really last. But God reminds you that the opinions of others do not carry the authority of heaven. What matters is alignment, respect, growth, and peace. If a connection brings clarity instead of chaos, honesty instead of games, and calm instead of fear, then it deserves your attention, not your judgment. This message is not here to push you into a decision. God never forces. This message is here to remove fear, to soften your heart, and to remind you that love is not always about sameness. Sometimes it is about balance. Sometimes it is about timing that does not match the calendar but matches the soul. If you have been feeling pulled toward reflection, toward prayer, toward silence, that is because God is inviting you to listen more deeply. Not to the noise around you, but to the quiet truth within you. The answer will not come through overthinking. It will come through peace. Remember this: what is meant for you will never require you to abandon your values, your self-respect, or your faith. And what is not meant for you will never bring lasting peace, no matter how exciting it feels at first. Trust that God is capable of guiding both your heart and your future at the same time. This connection, whether it becomes a chapter or a lifetime, is not meaningless. It arrived to awaken something in you, to remind you that love can be pure, respectful, and intentional even when it does not follow expectations. God is not confused about your life. God is not late. God is not silent. He is speaking now because you are ready to hear with maturity, not fear. So take a breath. Release the pressure. Let clarity unfold naturally. What belongs in your life will stay without force. What does not will fade without regret. And through it all, God will remain steady, guiding you step by step, never ahead of you, never behind you. God says, "Stay with me a little longer, because what is unfolding now goes deeper than first understanding." What you felt when you heard the beginning of this message was not curiosity, it was recognition. Recognition always feels calm but heavy at the same time, as if your soul quietly nodded before your mind had time to argue. That is how truth often enters. It does not shout. It settles. This connection did not begin where you think it did. It did not start with words, glances, or timing. It started much earlier, in a place where souls are prepared long before paths cross. That is why this feels different from attraction, different from admiration, different from infatuation. There is a sense of familiarity that does not need explanation, a sense of ease that does not demand effort. Even the pauses feel meaningful. Even the distance feels connected. You may have questioned why someone at a different stage of life would see you this way, or why you would feel seen by them without trying. God wants you to know that maturity is not measured only by age. Wisdom does not follow birthdays. Depth does not obey calendars. Some people carry old souls in young bodies, and some carry learning hearts that have walked many years. Heaven aligns spirits, not numbers. This person did not fall for a version of you that you perform for the world. They were drawn to the version of you that exists when you are quiet, when you are honest, when you are not trying to impress or protect yourself. They noticed your patience, your way of listening, your ability to understand without judgment. They felt safe in your presence, and safety is one of the purest forms of love God allows. God says, do not mistake this connection as something that must immediately become something defined. Not every God-led bond rushes forward. Some are meant to grow slowly, deliberately, with respect for timing, boundaries, and inner clarity. Love that is rushed often confuses intensity with truth. Love that is guided waits without anxiety. You may be carrying inner conflict because part of you feels peace while another part feels resistance. That resistance is not always a warning. Sometimes it is conditioning. Sometimes it is the echo of voices that taught you what love should look like, how it should arrive, and who it should involve. God is not offended by your questions. He invites them. He asks only that you do not let fear speak louder than wisdom. Notice how this person treats you. Not how they imagine you, not how they idealize you, but how they respect you. Notice whether they listen more than they talk, whether they protect your dignity even in silence, whether they are patient with your uncertainty. Love sent by God does not pressure. It does not manipulate. It does not demand proof. It waits with understanding. This message is not telling you that this person is automatically meant to stay forever. It is telling you that this connection is real, sincere, and purposeful. Purpose does not always mean permanence. Sometimes purpose means healing. Sometimes it means growth. Sometimes it means teaching you what healthy attention feels like so you never settle for less again. God says, if this connection brings you closer to honesty, closer to self-respect, closer to peace, then it is doing what it was sent to do. If it brings confusion, secrecy, or inner unrest, then wisdom will gently redirect you. God does not trap His children in relationships. He guides them through experiences that refine discernment. There is a reason this person has not crossed your boundaries. There is a reason conversations feel intentional rather than impulsive. There is a reason you do not feel consumed, only aware. That is not coincidence. That is restraint guided by respect. Love without restraint is not love, it is appetite. What you are sensing here is different. God wants you to understand that your worth does not increase or decrease based on who loves you. You are already whole. This connection does not complete you. It meets you. And healthy love always meets, never fills a void. That is why there is no desperation here, only curiosity wrapped in calm. You may also feel protective of yourself, afraid of judgment, afraid of misunderstanding. God says, clarity does not come from hiding. It comes from honesty, first with Him, then with yourself. You do not owe the world explanations before you understand your own heart. Take your time. Pray. Reflect. Observe. Truth does not run away from patience. This person's feelings are not impulsive. They have wrestled with them quietly. They questioned themselves. They asked why you mattered so deeply. They did not take this lightly. Love that crosses perceived differences often requires courage, and courage does not act without thought. God says, allow yourself to receive this awareness without labeling it as right or wrong yet. Simply acknowledge it as real. Reality does not demand immediate action. It asks for presence. Be present with what you feel. Be honest about what you fear. Be open to what you are learning about yourself through this. This message is here to remove shame, not to push decisions. Love that comes from God never humiliates. It dignifies. It strengthens. It teaches you that connection can exist without possession, that affection can exist without control, and that understanding can exist without agreement. As you continue listening, you may notice a quiet relief. That relief is not permission. It is reassurance. Reassurance that you are not imagining this. Reassurance that you are not wrong for feeling seen. Reassurance that God is involved, even if the path is not yet clear. Stay grounded. Stay prayerful. Stay honest. What is meant to grow will grow without force. What is meant to pass will pass without damage. And through all of it, God remains steady, guiding not just your relationships, but your heart itself. This is not the end of the message. It is the deepening of it. And clarity will continue to unfold, gently, at the pace your soul can carry. God says, now listen even more carefully, because this is where understanding becomes deeper and the noise around you must fall silent. What you are experiencing is not confusion, it is discernment forming. Discernment always feels slow because it asks you to pause instead of react. Many people mistake peace for boredom and intensity for destiny, but heaven does not work that way. Heaven works in layers, gently, patiently, revealing truth only when the heart is ready to carry it without fear. This connection entered your life quietly, not dramatically, not forcefully. That alone is a sign. What is sent by God does not arrive to shake your balance, it arrives to steady you. Think about how this person makes you feel when you are not overthinking. There is no pressure to perform, no anxiety to prove yourself, no urgency to be someone else. You are allowed to be as you are. That freedom is rare, and it should never be ignored. You may wonder why the timing feels unusual, why the difference in life stages feels noticeable, why logic keeps knocking while your heart remains calm. God says, logic is not your enemy, but it is not your guide either. Logic protects you from danger, but wisdom teaches you how to recognize truth. Wisdom does not deny age differences, responsibilities, or realities. Wisdom simply asks a deeper question: does this connection honor who you are becoming? This person sees beyond surface things. They are not attached to your age, your status, or what you can offer. They are drawn to your essence, the way you think, the way you speak with sincerity, the way you carry kindness without weakness. They notice your emotional depth, your ability to reflect, your willingness to grow. That is not infatuation. That is recognition of character. God wants you to understand something important here. Love that is genuine does not erase differences, it respects them. It does not pretend challenges do not exist, it acknowledges them without fear. If this person is meant to walk with you in any capacity, it will not require you to abandon your values, your pace, or your boundaries. Anything that asks you to shrink, rush, or hide is not sent by God. You may feel a quiet test happening within you. A test of patience. A test of honesty. A test of whether you can sit with uncertainty without trying to control the outcome. God often uses connections like this to teach His children how to trust Him instead of timelines. What is meant to be clear will become clear without manipulation. This is also a moment of healing. Perhaps in the past, love came with fear, instability, or imbalance. Perhaps you were taught that love must hurt to be real, or that attention must be chased to be valuable. God says, I am unteaching you those lessons. I am showing you that love can be gentle, respectful, and steady. I am showing you that someone can care without consuming you. Notice how there is space here. Space to think. Space to breathe. Space to pray. Space to choose. That space is intentional. God does not crowd His children into decisions. He allows truth to rise naturally so that when you choose, it is not out of fear or loneliness, but clarity. You are not being asked to decide everything now. You are being asked to stay aware. Awareness is powerful. Awareness protects you from fantasy and fear alike. Stay present. Stay observant. Let actions speak louder than assumptions. Let consistency reveal intention. Time is not your enemy here, it is your ally. God says, do not let outside voices rush you. People will always project their own beliefs, wounds, and limitations onto your life. They do not carry your prayers. They do not hear what I whisper to you in quiet moments. You are accountable to me first, not opinions. If this connection continues, it will continue with respect. If it pauses, it will pause without resentment. If it transforms, it will transform without damage. That is how God-led connections behave. They may challenge you, but they do not break you. They may stretch you, but they do not shame you. There is also something forming inside you right now, self-trust. You are learning to listen to your inner peace instead of outer noise. You are learning to recognize when something feels right without needing dramatic signs. That growth matters more than the outcome of any single relationship. God says, remember this always, you are not behind, you are not late, and you are not wrong for feeling what you feel. You are simply becoming more aware of what love looks like when it is not driven by fear. That awareness will guide you long after this moment. This message is not here to tell you what must happen next. It is here to anchor you. To remind you that you are guided, protected, and seen. Whatever unfolds from here will unfold under my watch, not yours alone. Stay open, but stay grounded. Stay curious, but stay honest. What belongs in your life will never require you to betray yourself to keep it. And what is truly from God will always move closer to clarity, never confusion. This is the unfolding, not the conclusion. And you are handling it with more wisdom than you realize. God says, now this is the moment where truth settles, not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. This is where clarity replaces guessing, and peace replaces overthinking. You have walked through confusion before, through emotions that pulled you in different directions, through moments where your heart felt something your mind could not immediately explain. But understand this clearly, confusion never comes from me, clarity does. And clarity often arrives slowly so that it can stay. This connection you are experiencing was never meant to rush you. It was meant to reveal you to yourself. To show you how far you have come emotionally, how differently you now respond to affection, and how much stronger your boundaries have become. Earlier in your life, love may have felt like intensity, attachment, or fear of loss. Now, it feels like calm presence, mutual respect, and emotional safety. That change did not happen by accident. I shaped it through your experiences, your disappointments, and your healing. God says, this person did not fall for a version of you that performs or pretends. They were drawn to the version of you that exists when no one is watching. The way you think deeply before speaking. The way you listen without interrupting. The way you value meaning over attention. That is why age difference did not matter to them. Souls do not recognize numbers, they recognize resonance. But hear this carefully, recognition does not mean possession. Love does not mean control. Being chosen does not mean you lose choice. If something is truly aligned with me, it will never pressure you to decide before you are ready. It will not manipulate you with urgency. It will not make you feel guilty for taking time. Anything that tries to rush you is not rooted in divine patience. God says, I am watching how you handle this season, not to test you, but to prepare you. Because the way you navigate this connection reflects the level of wisdom you are stepping into. You are no longer meant to chase clarity. Clarity is meant to meet you. You are no longer meant to prove your worth. Your worth is already established. There may be moments when doubt whispers, when you question whether this is real or temporary, whether it will last or fade. God says, do not build stories in your mind before reality has spoken. Let consistency speak. Let actions unfold. Let time reveal intention. Truth has a way of standing firm even when emotions fluctuate. You are learning something sacred right now, how to stay open without being unguarded. How to feel without falling into attachment. How to care without losing yourself. This lesson is more valuable than any single relationship outcome. Whether this connection deepens, transforms, or simply teaches you, it is already serving a divine purpose in your life. God says, I am not leading you into confusion, I am leading you into discernment. Discernment is quiet. It does not shout. It does not panic. It simply observes and understands. And you are doing that well, even when you feel unsure. If this person is meant to walk beside you long term, they will continue to respect your pace. They will honor your values. They will not compete with your peace. And if they are meant to be a chapter rather than the full story, that chapter will still leave you stronger, wiser, and more whole than before. God wants you to release the need to label everything immediately. Some connections are meant to grow before they are named. Some bonds are meant to mature before they are defined. When you try to name something too early, you limit what it can become. Trust me with the timing. You are not missing out by waiting. You are protecting yourself by being present. Waiting does not mean inactivity. It means alignment. And alignment always produces better outcomes than impatience. God says, remember this, love that is meant for you will never ask you to abandon your self-respect. It will never ask you to silence your intuition. It will never ask you to accept less than clarity. What is meant for you will meet you where you are and grow with you. This season is shaping your emotional maturity. It is teaching you that love can be calm, steady, and intentional. That attraction does not need chaos. That connection does not need confusion. That something real does not need to prove itself loudly. And now, before you move forward, I want you to sit with this truth. You are safe to feel, safe to pause, safe to choose. I am guiding you even when you cannot see the full path. Nothing that belongs to you will pass you by. Nothing that is not meant for you can trap you. God says, trust the peace you feel more than the fear you imagine. Peace is my language. As this message comes to a close, let your heart rest. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn, becoming exactly who you are meant to become. And now, if this message brought clarity to your heart, if it helped you see your situation with calm instead of confusion, do not keep it to yourself. Like this message to anchor it. Comment what resonated with you so your voice is heard. Share this with someone who may be struggling with the same questions. And subscribe so you don't miss the next message meant to guide you. Stay grounded. Stay aware. And trust that what God is building in your life is stronger than anything you are leaving behind.